Hello again, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and talking about This War of Mine. Now, we're not going to do a tutorial for this game for two reasons. The first reason is that the game is a storybook game and we wouldn't want to spoil too much in here. But, you know, we have done tutorials for storybook games and just done very limited amounts of tutorial work in them before. The other reason is because, and there's no way to hide this as we talk about this game, this is going to be a severely negative review. And to the point at which where we don't want to do a tutorial for it because we don't actually recommend it.
We don't want to play the game again.
No, we don't. And we don't want to recommend it to anyone. So we're going to get on. We're going to show you some of the things that come in the box and we're going to review it and rate it. We're just not going to run through a tutorial of it. So now the first thing is the board. Now this is going to be one of the few things I'm going to talk very positively about because the board is gorgeous and it's two-sided
and it's huge.
And it's huge. It is absolutely huge. So let me see if I can get this to a way that you can see it. But it is, as you can see here, it has many different areas. Most of them are areas for decks because this game has like 50 decks of cards. The other side looks very similar. It's almost the same thing. But the production quality on the board is fantastic. And I will not complain about that whatsoever. In fact, actually, when I get to the final rating, I think I might have given it a whole extra star just based on the production quality in the game. Because the production quality is really good. This board is beautiful. The artwork is nice. It's a linen finish, which is really nice also because you put cards on there, so it keeps the cards from sticking to the board. So yeah, that's great. Then we have here, this is a thing that helps you to set up for a couple different scenarios. You have the actual rule book, which I'm going to go into more detail in a moment, but suffice to say I hate it.
It's very confusing.
We'll get to that. And we have a storybook. Now when we open this up...
That's confusing too.
But when we saw it was a storybook game, you love storybook games, and
yes.
we were like, oh my god, you're going to love this game.
That's why I bought it.
And then...
I love the apocalypse and I love storybook games. It seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, so now, the reason I didn't talk about the player counts or the time or the age estimate yet is because I wanted to wait till I got to here. So they have this pad in here, and you can see we have one because we were playing the game. I'm just going to put that aside. But the pad is it's called the save sheet pad. This is based on a video game. This is a little joke reference to the video game where if you need to stop playing, you fill out where you're at on the save sheet pad, and that way you can pick up playing it again later at any time. Now, here's the thing. So when I first saw this, and Lynn pulled it out of the box because we were unboxing it, I was like, wow, that's kind of funny. That's kind of cool. But then later, way later, it hit me. The game says that it should last 45 to 120 minutes. Who doesn't have 45 to 120 minutes to sit down and play a whole game? I don't understand. Why would you need to save it? And that's because that's a lie. That is a blatant lie. That's for one turn. That's not for a game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think I've ever seen an estimate that is so off, so blatantly, such a blatant lie in a box. Have you ever seen a game that lied? Like, I've seen ones where it's like as much as twice as much, but I've never seen one where it's literally the estimate for the game is an estimate for one turn.
Well, they probably figure you're going to stop and save it after one turn.
Yeah, but that's not one game.
Yeah.
That's one turn. It's absolute lies. Okay, so now we'll go over this. So for the time, obviously, you can tell where I'm at with this. And I mean, what is your opinion on that?
I didn't even realize, like, once I realized that was just one turn, I was just like, I don't want to do a second turn.
It's just so bad. And then, okay, so the 1 to 6 players, okay, so my opinion on this is a one-player game.
We didn't really have any interaction, even though we were supposedly in the same outpost or whatever you want to call it.
So we're fighting. There's a war going on. It's a similar situation to like in the real world right now. What's been happening in Syria, where the whole economy in the country is broken down because of the war. We are basically like refugees trapped in this war-torn area. This is not a pleasant theme, obviously. But the thing is this. When you play with multiple players, you don't each get a character. and say that that's your character, which they would normally do in a game like this. Instead, you get a pool of characters that doesn't change based on how many players are playing, and then you all share them. Which is awful because it doesn't help you get invested in any of the characters at all. You're just like, oh, well, that's that guy. Sometimes you control him, sometimes I control him, sometimes she controls him. I didn't find myself caring about any of them, especially like halfway through the first turn, I didn't give a crap about a single one of them. Then, so this really feels more like it should be a one-player game, because at one player you control all the characters, and at least they are representing you as a whole. All of them are representing you. Now, the 18 plus is...
I guess there's themes that we literally only played one turn.
Well, we did have that bit where basically we murdered a wounded soldier for his supplies.
Okay, I'm guessing there are worse themes than that, though, because that to me doesn't...
I'm thinking it's the moral ambiguity, but that being said, also the game is rather advanced.
Oh yeah.
So this is the only estimate here I agree with, the 18 plus. I do agree that you need to be an advanced gamer and an adult to get this game and to play this game. So I'm
have the patience, and even then.
All right. So now let's get into why we don't like this game. So all right. So the rule book, here we are, the journal. So you open up the journal, and it says setup. Now, the setup's not too bad, but I do have some problems with it. Actually, I had problems as soon as we got to the setup. And the reason is, so the setup, now there's lots of just putting resources out, putting the board out, but there's also lots of decks of cards. I mean, if you take a look here, all those arrows, each one of those arrows is a different deck of cards. I kid you not. That's how many decks of cards there are. It's insane. So now, when you're setting up the decks of cards, on some of them it says, shuffle this deck of cards and place it on the spot. And then on others it says, place this deck of cards there. And when they took the time to specifically tell you to shuffle other decks, we got confused. Do we not shuffle that deck? It doesn't specifically tell us not to shuffle it. So it was a bit ambiguous, and we had to think about it for a good 5 minutes just to figure out. And I went a little bit ahead and was like, no. They are supposed to be random. This should be shuffled. But this was like a minor ambiguity from the rules that took a whole 5 minutes to figure out and was kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt. I mean, because we were sitting there like, I don't get it. Why didn't they tell us to shuffle this? So yeah, there's definitely some ambiguities in here. Then it says, and this is where my rage begins. So what happens is once you're set up, it tells you that stop. You're now ready to play. Go on, page by page, as this game will take you through the different steps of a turn. And we were like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting.
It sounds like a good idea.
It sounds like, it's going to teach us what we play. So there's going to be very little time needed to read the rules. We'll just go through it. But here's the thing. As we started to go through it, it was telling us to do things that we didn't understand why we're doing them because it hadn't explained it.
Yes, it didn't explain certain things.
Anything, really.
That should have been... And we were just like, okay, well, what happens with this? And then it's not explained until like an hour later, and then we're like, oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, but
it would have been nice to know to begin with.
But then in addition, as it's taking you through the first turn, and then what it basically does is each section, so it goes morning, then day actions, then dusk, then evening, then scavenging, then night raid, and then it says continue back on to the dawn phase of the next day. So you get to dawn and you go back after dawn to morning. After dawn, you go back to morning. So now, as you go through these, first off, it tells you to do things without explaining why, and then it tells you to do things that it will later then penalize you for doing. It told you to do it, didn't explain. So like, I'll give you an example. We were playing the game and it says, okay, now you got to go out scavenging. And it says, but before you go, you got to leave somebody behind to protect your safe haven. It's very important to leave somebody behind.
So we left someone behind.
Yeah. Didn't tell you that if you want any good chance of actually defending your haven, you need to have a weapon, which it also didn't tell you to find one of before that point. So we had no weapons. We didn't have any. We left one guy behind with no weapons. He gets raided by a bunch of angry hobos. I'm not making this up. This happened. It sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not. They broke in, stole our crap anyway, and injured him. So leaving him behind didn't help at all because we still lost our stuff. And if anything, we should have left it unguarded.
He was like injured or something.
Yeah.
Like he was useless after that, basically.
And then on top of that, so it takes you through all the levels of the turn, and it doesn't tell you at all how important it is that you need to be getting some food and water. Because we get to the end, and we had some food and water, but we didn't have nearly enough food and water. We get to the end, and it's like, oh, okay. And now you get negative status effects on each one of your survivors, which we had 3, who doesn't have enough food or water to eat. They get like thirsty and hungry, and you're gonna get negative status effects on each of them. So we get to the end of the turn, and it's like, well, it would have been nice to know that we should have been looking for these, and it never
prioritizing it instead of
trying to find tools and stuff. And barter with random people.
We didn't really know what we were supposed to be finding.
No. This rule book is awful in that regard. And so then also now so you've got the storybook. And we did some things where we went into the storybook. And all of them, compared to other storybook games we have, like Near and Far or Tales of the Arabian Nights, this storybook feels very uninspired. Mm-hmm. We started, because we didn't like all the results we were getting from the decisions we were making. I mean, most games usually you have a positive moral choice and a negative moral choice to make, and the negative moral choice might give you more benefit in the short term, but might have negative effects later. Whereas a positive moral choice might not give you as much benefit in the short term, but you won't get those negative effects later. This doesn't have any of that. This is just like do something good and get nothing, or do something bad and get stuff and nothing bad happens to you later for it. And like there was that we found a wounded soldier. And we're like, and it says, and your options were help them or murder them and steal their supplies.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, maybe we can help them and they'll give us another survivor. We'll get another survivor in our compound. Because that seemed to make sense. We'll help them. We'll bring them back to the compound. We'll get another survivor. He's a soldier. Maybe when he's healed, he'll be good at helping us to defend the place. So we helped him. You get nothing.
No, he just stayed there on his own.
Yeah,
being wounded
and using up our medical supplies.
Yeah.
So then we're like, well, we were curious. So we said, okay, well, let's check. What would have happened if we killed him? If you kill him, you murder him and you get a bunch of good stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And it was like, what kind of choice is that? Like, it doesn't even tell you that.
And well, again, with just how the books are set up, the book of scripts, the storybook, has like random facts throughout it, like FAQs. And it's just, and it's not, they're not like bunched in the back or the front. They're on like randomly dispersed in here. And you'll find something where it's like, see the fact in the script book. And we're like, okay, the script book has facts. And then like just in the middle of dialogue and stuff, there'll be like a fact about combat or something. I'm trying to find one. It's just so ridiculous. Here we go.
Go ahead. What's it?
Oh wait, no, that's a different, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, is that one right there? Yeah, there you go. Combat fact.
Combat fact. They'll be just like it's a random.
It's just there in the middle, in the middle of the book. Okay, so all right. Here's the thing.
Makes no sense.
No, it makes it's all right. This is wonderful production, terrible design, terrible writing, terrible rules writing, terrible writing for the storybook. So the rules are not done in a clear and concise manner. The teaching you while you play is rage-inducing. And I do mean rage-inducing. By the time you get to the end of the first turn that you're playing of this game, you're like, why has it made me do all this? I feel like this game was designed by a sadist. And it's possible that it was. I don't know I don't know these people personally. They might be sadists. I don't know.
It wasn't fun. It's just like, at least with some with most games, there's like that glimmer of you might be able to win or turn it around, and this was just like it was like just,
hopeless.
It was beating you down, you know. Everything you did was something terrible happened. And
no, the best thing I could say about that design is that it does perfectly represent the hopeless situation of living in a war-torn nation where there's no clean drinking water and no food to be had. And yeah, okay, it represents that fairly well, even though the rules are poorly done. It represents that feel fairly well, but that feeling is not fun.
No.
That's not, I mean, nobody goes, oh, it's really fun, I should go on vacation to Syria right now. That's not a thing. It's a horrible place at the moment where there's lots of war and violence going on. It's not a top vacation destination. People aren't going to go there. So when you play a game that's about a horrible theme like that, a very horrific theme like that, you don't want it to be that close to the theme. You want it to be a little bit more removed because the actual theme is pretty terrible. I mean, I didn't enjoy this game at all. No. So, so there you have it. Now, I do not recommend this game to anyone. I do want to call out, though, that this game has a very high rating on Board Game Geek. So there's a lot of people out there who disagree with us. But why? I have a sneaking suspicion it is because of the Kickstarter effect. You have a tendency to see people who kickstart a game, they want to justify in their heads that they like it. I've even found myself doing it on occasion, which is why if I've kickstarted a game, I wait longer to review it. Because if you kickstart a game, you're like, oh man, I've been waiting for this game all this time, and I've been waiting through all these updates, and I feel invested, and I get it, and I'm like willing to overlook those negatives. Mm-hmm. So it has like an average of somewhere around 8 stars on Board Game Geek, which I think is ludicrous. Because I've looked, and the reviews of the little reviews from customers all complain about the same stuff we complain about. So we know it's not just us, even though the average rating is so high. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, if you have reasons you really love this game and you don't think it's as bad as we're saying, feel free to comment down below. Tell us what we're missing. But as far as I can tell, I do not recommend this game to anyone. This game feels like bashing your head against a brick wall for 2 hours and then have it tell you, oh, haha, that was just one turn. You got to keep going. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but I don't want to keep bashing my head against this brick wall. It's horrible. Yeah. And the brick wall is very hard and I'm bleeding. And I require medical attention.
Yes.
And you do feel like you require medical attention after playing this game. So I'm going to give this game 3 out of 10 stars.
Oh, that's high.
Well, and
is
again,
the extra star for the board?
The extra stars for the production. I do believe that I like these counters, these little gears. These are nice. I like the glass beads, the miniatures, the look of the board, the cards. Everything is very pretty. It's very polished in its appearance. The production is nice. So I gave it, I think one of those 3 stars is literally just because I could not bring myself to give a lower rating than 3 to something that looks so beautiful. And the board, also the pieces are functional. The board is functional. The components are functional. At least it's not something as bad as another game that shall remain nameless where the board wasn't even functional.
About that Dracula game?
Yeah, Van Helsing. So, okay. But 3 stars is all this game is worth for me. 3 out of 10 stars, which means I do not like this game and I'm never going to play it again.
I am giving it 2 stars. I do not give stars just because it's pretty. Because,
Well, that's the thing. If it wasn't as pretty, I might have gone to it too. But again, I had to give it a star just because the production was very nice, and that does enter into it for me, at least. But you don't have to have that enter for you.
I like mechanics better. I focus on mechanics. I don't really care what a game looks like.
So 2 stars for you?
Yeah.
What do you have to say about... so what does that mean for you, the 2 stars now?
I never want to play this again.
Yeah, me neither. So this game is not going to hang out in our collection. Again, if we're getting this wrong and you really feel we're really wrong, maybe you can justify down below and tell us why we're wrong. Because again, there are a lot of people out here who rate this game very highly. But we do not like this game. We do not recommend this game to any of you out there. That is only a total, if you're counting, out of a possible 20 stars, that is 5 between the 2 of us. 5 stars out of a possible 20 for us here at the Board Game Captain. So there you have it. That is This War of Mine. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on this video or on the game This War of Mine, feel free to put them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this review video, give it a like, share it on any social media you may have, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.